I'm Alma Lee. I'm a psychotherapist and transformative lifestyle resiliency coach and author, and I want to help you reach your goals by teaching you how to step outside of those fear-based mindsets and into your powerful, loving self. Let's get started. I'm such a troublemaker, or as they would say back in my military days, a shit disturber, whatever that means. But I don't shy away from addressing the elephant in the room, or a problem, if you will, and I call attention to it. So there's two kinds of people that go to therapy. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I'm going to mention it again today. There's two kinds of people that go to therapy. One, the first kind is the person who has reached a certain point of intolerance in their life, and they realize that they need help, and that they are not only willing to receive that help, but they're also willing to employ the information that's given. They're actually willing to make those changes. Those are the people that we love seeing show up in therapy. And then, of course, the other kind of person that shows up in therapy is the person who is there to show up and expect the therapist to wave a magic wand and make all of their problems go away. And or that's also the person that will collectively go back and tell everybody in the world that'll listen that I'm in therapy without actually engaging in doing any of the work or any of the introspection. Those are the people that I very politely remove myself from because it's a waste of my time and energy. Anyway, why am I mentioning this? Well, today's topic is what to do about anxiety. Now, the gentleman that sent me a message earlier today is someone that I've known for a few years, and this question has come up before. We've actually had this conversation before about what do I do about anxiety, Alma? How do I affect change with anxiety? And I thought, what's the most effective thing I could do? I could actually, get online with this young man and go back into the discussion that we had before and remind him of what we spoke about before, or I could just do an entire episode of From Fear to Love with Alma Lee and dedicate it to him with nothing but sheer love. So as you're listening to this and you know who you are, I love you. And I just want to use this as an opportunity to encourage you to take stock of your own condition and do the work. Listen to what I'm saying here and do the work. Dig in and do the work. So let's talk about some anxiety. Everybody struggles with anxiety from time to time, including yours truly. So I'm no stranger to anxiety, believe me. My anxiety, in the past, I self-medicated with alcohol and, other unhealthy vice and ways to just sort of ignore the problem, get it away, get rid of it, get it gone, just anything I could do to ignore it. And I think a lot of people do that as well. But here's the thing. Anxiety, there's a reason that you're anxious. Number one, there's an underlying root cause of why you're feeling the way that you do. And it's justifiable. Maybe there's some fears that you're not facing. Maybe there's some condition that you're not aware of. Or maybe there's a lot going on in your life that you feel completely and utterly out of control. You feel powerless to. That could very well be the case as well. Anxiety is ultimately concern about things that have not yet transpired, and you're trying to sort of navigate through that and fix it so that you can handle it. And if you don't have all the parts and pieces and you don't have all the information, it makes it very difficult to do that, doesn't it? And not having information causes us to create information. Sometimes the information that we create in our ruminations or, overthinking, intrusive thoughts that a lot of us have, we come up with some conclusions that are not really helpful. And sometimes we can go down that rabbit hole where it's really frightening. And we come up with these terrible scenarios that we think, oh God, that's the worst thing that could happen. Oh, what if that happens? And then we just get ourselves wound up in a tailspin, and we are exhausting ourselves unnecessarily because we're trying to fix a problem that's not fully present. So that's really, really what anxiety is. So, knowledge is power. Understanding what you're up against is key in resolving anxiety. And, when things are not going the way that you want them to go, in life, in relationships, in certain, situations that you're in life, and you feel powerless to that, the anxiety can just be, it can really have a grip on you. Now, hear me out when I say this. You are the steward of your well-being. You're the only person that can affect change. You're the only person that can affect your anxiety. No one outside of yourself can, switch, or wave a magic wand like, a therapist could. I don't have any magic wands. But you are the one person that actually has all the power to navigate through this. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to do this. But none of these tips are going to help you if you don't do it. They're just not. And so there's not anything that I can say to you today in this episode that is going to help you if you are not actively engaged in doing what I recommend here. It's not going to help you at all if you just don't take stock in it and take control of your power back, or take control of your life back. Take your power back. You know what I'm saying? So, number one, the first thing that you have to do when you're in the throes of anxiety is you've got to settle down those thoughts. And how you do that is through mindfulness and meditation. Now, oh, Alma, I can't meditate. It's such a struggle. I have all these thoughts. I have all these things. Yeah, I know. I get it. I was that person too, especially in grad school. It was really bad in grad school. And I can remember going through the exercise with my professor to do a mindfulness exercise. Man, I can't speak today. What is going on? To do a mindfulness exercise. And I can remember thinking, I can just fake my way through this because I can't meditate. I mean, that's not for me. That's that woo-woo spiritual tree hugging BS. I'm not into that. So, and so that's what started it. But I can assure you that if you can step outside of your perspectives and your perceptions of what mindfulness and meditation is, and also take away that belief system that you can't do it. You can do anything. If you focus on it and you believe that you can achieve it, then you can actually achieve it. And mindfulness and meditation is actually quite easy once you get the hang of it. But the part of getting the hang of it is actually believing that it works and believing that you have the capacity to do so. And I'm telling you that you can. Now, if you're sitting around lingering, expecting someone else to fix the problem for you, it's not going to happen. This is your way through anxiety. Mindfulness and meditation. That's just the first one. The first tip and trick I'm going to share with you today. Mindfulness, meditation. Being present. Be here right now while you're listening to my voice. Don't think about anything else. Allow yourself to set aside whatever worry, concern, or fear that you're dealing with currently that's creating all of this for you. Give yourself permission to just say, you know what, I'm going to table that for right now. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to look at my watch. Or maybe that's not a good example because I don't want you to focus on the time necessarily. Look at your piece of furniture that you're sitting on. Find a notch in it or a curve or a seam and stare at it and take some deep breaths. It's really, really very simple to be mindful and to observe and pay attention. What color is the chair that you're sitting in? Do you notice anything unique about the chair? Do you notice anything unique about the way you're sitting in the chair? Do you recognize anything unique about what you're wearing while you're sitting? You can go any which way with it as long as you're being present. And it is an exercise that will get you out of the forced, intrusive thinking that you are sort of choosing. You're kind of acquiescing into. It's it's like a bully. Those intrusive thoughts are like bullying you and you're just not fighting back. Well, this is a way to fight back against those intrusive thoughts. So you give yourself permission to say, okay, look, I know that I have this concern, but right now I'm going to focus. Right now I'm going to take some time for myself, and I'm just going to do this mindfulness exercise. Now, you can go on YouTube. You can Google it. You can find a gazillion, endless resources on how to conduct a mindfulness exercise. It essentially all you're doing is just focusing on your breath right here and now. And that's the beginning stages of meditation. And of course, meditation I've only got 20, 25 minutes in this podcast, but meditation, you can find books, you can find tutorials. If you'll scroll back in all of my episodes, I have a couple of episodes from a while back where I actually teach you how to meditate. So check that out as well after this episode. Mindfulness exercises, being present here and now, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, because you know what? They don't exist anyway. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. Time is not linear. Everything is just a different dimension. We just hop and hop and hop. I'll go into that further in a different episode. But your anxiety is the direct result of what you are condoning and allowing as far as intrusive thinking goes. And in order to control that, you must control those thoughts. And in order to control those thoughts, you must be present here and now. And you must redirect your focus onto something here in the present moment. That is number one. That is key on how you are going to effectively challenge an anxious moment, or maybe even a panic attack. Panic attacks are a little bit different, but they're brought on by severe anxiety. So number one, mindfulness and meditation practices will help you regulate your system, help you refocus and reprioritize what you're really focusing your mind on without all of the intrusiveness. Okay? Number two, again, remind yourself, these clues don't work if you don't do them. Number two, physical activity. You got to get up and move. You got to get the blood going. You got to get the body moving. You'll get those endorphins going. And when you get endorphins and adrenaline and dopamine going, your body tends to regulate itself through physical movement. And anxiety has a tendency to, sort of step out of the way. You actually create a fertile field in your body for anxiety to take root when you are sedentary, when you are not in motion, which is why physical activity is key. So get up, go take a walk, go do some yoga, go do some stretching. The other day, I went out with a new friend of mine. She invited me to go play pickleball. I played pickleball for the first time ever, and I loved it. Now, if you're like me, I'll exercise. I just don't like exercise for the sake of exercise. I like doing something and getting a cardiovascular benefit from it. So playing pickleball is definitely something I'm going to revisit, but damn if it didn't take me a week to get over it. I was sore in places that, oh my Lord. It was good though. It was great exercise. I was using muscle groups that I'm not used to using, which is a reminder that I should probably do that exercise. It was good for me. Physical activity, number two. Number three, cognitive, I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. So some techniques would be to use logic. So let me back up. We interpret our environment two different ways. We interpret our environment logically and emotionally. Normally, when we're in an anxious space, we are interpreting our environment mostly emotionally because we're feeling it in our body. We're feeling how it feels to be dysregulated as a result of what we perceive to be stressful. When we are logical, we are assessing with practical means, with relatable means. We're being rational in our thought, and we're prioritizing, hierarchy of what's most important to what's least important. And we're using logic in order to do that, and discernment. So in cognitive behavioral circles, we have to understand what it is that's causing us to be dysregulated. So if you're anxious, look at it from a logical assessment. Take the emotion out of it, set that aside, and say, okay, what's really got me upset right now? Now, anxiety can manifest as anger as well. Anxiety is not just, oh gosh, I'm scared and I'm worried. Anger can be a result of anxiety too. I promise I'm trying to speak here. I don't know what my deal is today. I'm leaving this Friday for Italy. I'm excited. I got a lot on my plate today, and I guess I'm a little bit squirrely, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm anxious. Maybe that's what's going on. Dun, dun, dun. So you have to understand the cognition of what is going on. So let's say somebody's worried about getting a job. Let's say they interviewed and they've got bills to pay. That's a pretty anxiety provoking event. So what does it mean to not pay bills? Well, what happens if you don't pay bills? Well, you run the risk on, a long span of time of maybe getting your power turned off or getting evicted or maybe getting your car towed or repoed. And then what does it mean to have that happen? I mean, you can always get your lights turned back on, right? You can always find a different place to live, right? You can always get a new car, right? That's logical. But the emotional piece of it is, if I lose my car, that's humiliating because that means I'm a failure. Do you see what I mean? You see, it's like that. It's looking at what it means for you from a cognitive place, from an emotional place. So that's another way to go through the whole anxiety issue, is to assess what's happening logically. And then you can prioritize. Then you can say, okay, look, if I don't get this job, we're going to be mindful. I'm not going to lose my house today. I'm going to call the electric company. I'm going to say, hey, I need some help with my bill. Or I call the lender for my car and say, hey, I just lost my job. I'm trying to get, another position. Is there something you can help me with my lien, with my bill each month? Call your lien holders. There's always a way to work through things. Communication is key in this as well. So understanding what it means to be anxious is a key as well. So it's just a perspective. A lot of times anxiety kind of cycles around, right? So you're anxious about one thing, and when you get anxious about one thing, it magnifies something that you're anxious about in another area, and then it just loops and layers and doubles back and just magnifies itself until it's just this big mess, and you just feel all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, oh, I can't get through this. This is terrible. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. You are right here, right now, because you're resilient. You've been through and you have successfully overcome with 100% effectiveness everything that you've been challenged with in your life up until this point. So why is this any different? The only difference is that you just don't know how you're going to do it yet. And that's part of this process. So I highly recommend that you look at those three main factors as a means of overcoming and dealing with your anxiety. You have to engage, you have to be practical, and you have to be pragmatic and involved in your own healing and in your own mental health. And nobody else can fix this for you but you. You gain the information and then you use the information to get better and to push through. But just know this. It's not that other people don't care. It's just that other people can't care about you the way that you can care about you. So make sure you're paying attention to those three main factors. Number one, mindfulness and meditation. It'll slow down all of those racing thoughts that are associated with whatever anxious event you're dealing with. Number two, if you can't get out of your head, get out of the house. Go for a walk, stretch, and drink some water. And just get your blood going. Just get your body moving. Nothing will spark ideas and creativity quite like elevated heart rate and some blood flow will, because you get the oxygen in the brain and you get those neurons pumping, and you never know what's going to happen because your ideas are going to really start popping off. All because you got some exercise. And then your anxiety goes away because you figured out what you need to do next. You see? You feel me? And then the last one, the cognitive understanding, the understanding the meaning of being anxious. What does it mean? Why is it a problem to begin with? Digging in underneath the problem itself and then looking at how it will affect you and what the emotional outcome is and what it means to you personally. And then when you understand that, well, it'll give you a better idea, a better slant on how to approach it in the future and how to approach it this time and how to resolve through it. So those are your three main takeaways. And for those of you listening who are struggling with anxiety and you still feel overwhelmed, just breathe. You got through life up until this point. Be here right now. Take some deep breaths. Call a friend. Talk to somebody, a mentor, somebody that you look up to, and just Be easy on yourself. Damn. Tomorrow's another day. All right. This has been a Lee Bird Media production. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.